Now that we're in 2014, let's look ahead. Let's grab our magic 8-ball. I didn't bring my magic 8-ball in, which usually gives me so many.
8-ball, cue ball. You say you
ball
can't
jokes
talk
begin.
too bad.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what your predictions are for 2014. Nolan, watch for Detroit restructuring and also the Michigan governor and the Senate races and the impact of Obamacare. We already talked about that a little bit. So Stephen, what did you say to watch for? Detroit's resurgence, elections, and Michigan's economic recovery. See, I like to tell people that I think you guys agree on a whole lot more than you disagree on.
Well, don't be telling people that.
Which is
because you got secrets we
very
could talk
interesting.
about.
We certainly agree on bourbon.
You guys do agree on bourbon. All right, but I want to talk
important.
about the election year. We're going to have gubernatorial election and filling Carl Levin's Senate seat.
Filling Michigan's Senate seat.
Okay, well, the seat that Carl Levin has held
yeah, but it don't
has
belong
been
to
his
him.
seat for a very long time.
It doesn't
Most
belong
of
to
my
him, and
life.
as much as Democrats would like to think, it doesn't belong to them either. And I think
so. Here's the first swings from Nolan of the election year.
Competitive race, very expensive race. Money will pour in here from on both sides, from all over the country. This could be a $50 million or more Senate race, and that's just incredible. But Terry Lynn Land's off to a good start. Gary Peters thought he would have a much easier ride on the Democratic side, but I think she's proven she's going to give him a good campaign.
Does the thought of $50 million being spent on an election make anybody else but me ill?
Maybe double that.
Yeah, I mean it's not a great thing, and again, you know, this is part of the problem with campaign financing is a lot of that money we won't know where it comes from. People will be able to give it and be anonymous, which I think is something we still need to fix. I think Nolan's right. It's going to be a more competitive race than we thought. It'll come down to Oakland County, like almost all statewide races do. I think Gary has a tremendous advantage in that's where he lives. I also think he has a tremendous advantage in that he's been through the fire 3 or 4 times now. I mean, every time for Gary Peters, it's, oh my gosh, it's a tight race. He might not pull it out. This guy has learned to fight and to campaign.
He's lost the only statewide race he was ever in.
He did lose it. That was what, 10, 12 years ago?
He lost. I mean, she's won 2 statewide races with going away numbers.
He's had to fight every time in one of the most competitive districts.
It's going to be a good campaign.
In the state. It's going to be a good campaign. You know, again, when's the last time Republicans won a Senate seat in Michigan? You've got to go back 15 years.
When's the last time Democrats blew up your health insurance? People are going to be angry. People are going to be extraordinarily angry.
These are all great questions.
This is the classic Republican short game, right?
And anger moves voters.
It's always about the short game. It's that people are mad now, so that's going to matter in 12 months.
I don't think people remember by the time that they get there.
The
I
impact's
really
still
don't.
going to be hitting them. It's going to get worse over the summer and fall.
Here's what Republicans still haven't come up with. What's the alternative?
And they
you want to go back to the old system where you kick people off for being sick?
That is the standard Democratic talking point. Republicans have put a plan on the table, introducing more competition to the system, allowing you to sell policies across state lines.
That's a good idea.
Tax credits for individuals, the same as for business. There's a lot of good ideas that were left out of this plan.
And some of that stuff, but most of the stuff that Republicans suggested got put in the plan, including the exchanges.
It absolutely did not.
Okay, well, I think that's very interesting that we were talking about the Senate race, and then all of a sudden you guys took that opportunity to start fighting about health care. But that's okay.
Going to be a key,
that's okay. It is going to be a key issue.
But who knows? Unless we find ourselves at war with somebody else, you never know what's going to happen over the course of a year.
Okay, so let's talk about the gubernatorial race. Rick Snyder hasn't even really totally officially announced that he's running again, but
well, he's running.
Which is kind of funny because Shower's been out there, 6 months now as an official candidate, and
since
Rick
Mackinac.
saying, hey,
He
did it at
Mackinac.
Mackinac, so it's longer. Rick Snyder's out there saying, well, maybe I'll do it in January, February. I got to figure it out. I don't want to be too long campaigning. I mean, he is the.
But he's got the job, so he's got the job right now, so he's got the advantage.
He's got the job with a lot of people, gunning for him, and he does it. He's taking it so nonchalant.
The truth is, if you look at the numbers and his approval ratings, which are nowhere near 50%, this is a guy who's vulnerable. But you got to have a candidate to run against him. You got to have somebody who has name recognition and money and a strong platform.
A base.
Is that Mark Shower? Right now, it looks like a tough sell. I wouldn't count him out. Mark is a very bright guy, was a good representative in Congress. He's got to get his name out there more. He's got to get his ideas out there more, and not just here's what I don't like about Rick Snyder, but here's what I do
Well,
differently.
he's got to
This
have
is
some
what I wanna
ideas
do.
first before he can get them out, and he's been just woefully short of that. What he's mostly done is whatever the governor's for, he's against. I don't think that's going to play.
I think in the early
in this
time,
election.
in the early
and he's
months,
going to be
that's
running
okay.
against an economic recovery. Have you ever seen anybody win running against an economic recovery?
Well, let's talk about that economic recovery, because that was one of the things that you put on to watch out for this year.
I do think that with the year that the autos had last year, really, you're talking about three companies turning the corner. We're back at what, at 12, 13 million units?
No.
Or
We'll
is
be
it
well over
15?
15 million. It should top 16.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Nobody could have predicted those kind of numbers back in '09 when we were reorganizing
Right.
the companies, and our economy still moves with manufacturing, and manufacturing is driven in this state by autos. So I think this could be the year that we start to see it really break open, and instead of just
All
sort
right,
of
last word, Nolan.
Ford just announced, 3,200 new white-collar workers, really good jobs, most of them in this state. GM announced $1 billion of new investment in this state. It looks really, really positive for Michigan going out.
See, look at that. We had a year 2013, and
Well,
let's hope that
it's a
2014.
question of who's responsible for it, right? He'd say
know.
Snyder deserves the credit. I'd say the president does.
He's the man sitting there.
And I'm still so glad to know in 2014 you still disagree. Thanks, guys. Happy New Year. And that is going to do it for MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy New Year to you. And make sure that you're part of our MiWeek family this year. Find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. You can find shows that you missed at MiWeek.org. I'm Christy McDonald. Have a great weekend. We will see you next week. Take care.
Business Leaders for Michigan is dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and economic growth. Learn more at businessleadersformichigan.com. Funding is also provided by Delta,